It's going to be Paul Schrader. He's running for the San Bernardino County Sheriff. So we'll give him the floor for a few minutes to talk to us.
Thank you. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Paul Schrader. I am a resident of Rancho Cucamonga, and I want to thank you for having me up here. I'll give you a quick background on who I am and where I come from. Basically, I was raised in Arkansas. One thing I'd like to talk about being raised in Arkansas, especially since I'm talking to a ABATE group. In Arkansas, whenever I was growing up, you could get a motorcycle license at 12 years old. So I started riding a motorcycle at 12. I had, in 1976, I remember having a Indian Bicentennial Enduro motorcycle. And I had a Honda 175. Those were some of the funnest years. In Arkansas, they had the helmet law. You know, we could ride without helmets because I grew up in a small town. One thing I can say is growing up in small areas and areas where, you know, people don't really try to come down on you really hard. You can do a lot of stuff and have a lot of freedom. Even as kids going hunting, being able to carry guns and things like that. We were taught gun safety, but it was really cool to be able to go out hunting, going out doing things and not getting harassed. And so some of my values growing up and some of the things I got to do, it followed over into me getting older. After I graduated from high school, I went in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for 4 years. I was an 0311, an infantryman. While I was in the infantry, after about 2 years, I got moved over to the military police. I spent 2 years there. Then after I got out, I went into law enforcement. I've got 29 years in law enforcement. I still currently work at the LA County Sheriff's Department, but I live in San Bernardino County. So that's why I'm running for Sheriff of San Bernardino County. I ran last time in 2010, and I ran for 5 months against the sheriff now, Rod Hoops, who had been sheriff, been appointed for a couple of years. Rod had spent $250,000, and then I ran 5 months, and I spent $10,000, and I got 40,000 votes. Rod had got 119,000 votes. He spent $250 a vote, and I spent 25 cents a vote. So that really made me believe that really people in this county want to change. I only ran 5 months, and I got 40,000 votes. No one knew who I was. Rod had been a sitting sheriff for a while. So to bring things forward and to talk about that, one thing and an issue that I want to talk about is being a constitutional sheriff. I think that right now we have a sheriff that is not a constitutional sheriff, and I really don't want to spend time talking about him, but I'll talk about myself. Things that I want to bring to the table and things that are near and dear to your heart. One thing to me that first and foremost is the Second Amendment. I'm a true believer in someone being able to carry a gun if they want to, because the Second Amendment says that you have the right. I don't believe the sheriff of the county should have the right, or any legislator, someone from up in Sacramento should have the right to say that we're going to take your guns away from you. Something I said in the last election is I didn't spend 4 years in the Marine Corps for some politician to take my gun. And the way I look at this is, if and when I do become sheriff, right now we have a shall issue or may issue policy. The state law is that we may issue a CCW license. For me, I'm going to change the policy to shall issue. Even though the state law says may issue, the sheriff has the basic right as a sheriff to say, I'll change the policy. Then when people come in saying, hey, I want a CCW, a carry concealed weapon permit, two things I have to do though. One, you can't be a convicted felon. Two, you can't be mentally ill. That would be my 2 stopping points. But other than that, if you... Sorry guys. Sorry. So you know what? If you come in... Yes.
How about if you're a felon, you have a clean record after 10 years of being a felon?
Well, you know what? I would have to look into that, because I really want to see people to have that right back. Yeah. And you know what? That might be something I can look into.
Because I just happened to get caught up over 10 years ago and happened to get a felony charge on me.
Right.
Never had nothing, never been in jail. You know, I was 44 years old, and I'm 52. You know, I was just wondering how a felony can I do?
You know what? I think out of the box. I really do. And I would have no problem trying to entertain things like that and to look into it. I just have to really say, though, Right now, we've got about 3,900 CCWs issued in this county, and we're supposed to be very liberal in handing out CCWs in this county. We've got 2.1 million people in this county. I think that's ridiculous if you say we're being liberal. I mean, as soon as I get in, I mean, I hope to see lines of people up there with, you know, filling out their applications, and I hope that it's going to go up to a lot more, a couple 100,000 people in this county at least, with CCWs. Now, some people, you know, I did get attacked last time by some of the people on the left saying, oh, you want to hand out guns to everyone. Yeah, I do. I do. So, I mean, because it's your right. Who am I to stop the Constitution? Who am I to someone to stand in the way of the Constitution? Yes, sir.
Do you think if you do enact this, if you're elected and you do enact this, that some judge is going to be able to just jump in and say, no, it's unconstitutional? You know, like every time we vote on something, some judge jumps in there and goes, no, you know, throw that out, like gay marriage and whatnot. Not that there's anything wrong with gay marriage. I mean,
You know, a judge. This would be an administrative function, just like in some of the counties right now. You have sheriffs that take that law and say, well, that means that I'm not going to issue to anyone. I'm saying I'm going to take that law and say I'm going to issue to everyone. And you know what? I want that to be part of my platform and campaigns. Another thing that I know is dear to you guys in here and to me is the Fourth Amendment. Unreasonable search and seizure. Now, a lot of people don't know, but that comes into your roadblocks, the things that we're talking about, you guys have been talking about, to have people stopping, wanting to set up roadblocks. Right now, particularly motorcycles, we already have them for cars. I totally disagree with that. And let me tell you why. As a police officer, when I worked patrol, if I stopped you, I had to have probable cause, reasonable cause, per the law, to stop you. Now we have sheriffs, police officers setting up roadblocks saying, well, this is an administrative function. But let me tell you, if they stop you and you've got drugs, you're drunk, you don't have a driver's license, they are going to get you. My problem with that is it violates the Fourth Amendment for unreasonable search and seizure. You have to have a reason or a warrant to be able, and a warrant you're going to have a reason to actually do that. So I'm totally against this. I'm totally against this this new law that you're trying to enact, where they want to just make it specific for motorcycles to be able to come in and do roadblocks and to do these inspections. All that is to gain money, is all that is. And whenever I want to talk to people, mothers against drunk driving, and they say, well, we need these roadblocks, what I want to do is to take the money that they would give us to set up a roadblock, let's just put some extra people out in the field there and start looking for people that are doing stuff and say, okay, we're going to be up in Hesperia on Main Street on Saturday night, I'm going to have extra patrol and we're not going to give any leniency. Instead of setting up a roadblock like we're in Nazi Germany and stopping people and saying, hey, we want to see your papers. I disagree with that, and I disagree with them trying to make a specific law to do this for motorcycle riders. So that's something that I really want to address to you guys, and I'm a firm believer in the Constitution. I believe that stomps on our Constitution. Yes, ma'am.
Isn't that like entrapment? Like when you have your cop sitting outside of a bar, watching for you to leave. Isn't that some kind of law against that? Entrapment. Yeah, well, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to sit outside of a bar and watch someone leave. What they can do is they need to be driving around doing the patrol, and if they see something that causes them to believe that you're drunk, like driving over, having your headlights off, doing things of that nature that would cause a reasonable person to believe something's wrong with that person, he's impaired. But just having a roadblock and saying, hey, we're going to stop everyone here today because we're going to be checking driver's license and things of that nature, I don't see how that's probable cause. I see that as a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. Because they're bad up here. I know somebody that was stopped for said you did the left turn and the headlights were out, and neither one happened, and they stopped them anyway. Well,
when I'm elected sheriff, and you guys can all hold me to this, I have Tricia Winkler videoing, my daughter taking pictures, you guys as witnesses. Anywhere the sheriff patrols, any unincorporated areas, we will not have roadblocks. I'll get in a fight with people over that. A few people, but I think most people that understand the Constitution are going to say, and thank you for giving us our rights back to that.
So you got support from the rank and file on something like that, or do most police officers feel differently?
You know what? Police officers, most police officers are just soldiers. Hey, go set up a roadblock. That's it. They don't know the Constitution. They know.
They do have opinions. I mean, you get feedback from the people. I mean, when you voice this opinion around your fellow officers, what kind of feedback? Are you getting flack from them? Are they saying you're out of your mind?
Some people do. You know, and some people just say, well, why would we not want to do that? We're stopping drunk drivers. And my answer to them So yeah, I do get some flack from police officers, and there are going to be some police officers say, you're totally out of your mind, and there's going to be a few. Most of them I talk to, they really don't know. They're just like, oh, well, we're just told to do it, that's why we do it. And I'm like, you know, they're being a good soldier. They're doing
their job.
You know, they're doing their job. But sometimes doing your job and violating the Constitution is the wrong thing to do. So, as the sheriff, I would have the authority to say, we're not going to do that. What we can do, though, I'm not just going to say, hey, we're abandoning, you know, enforcing laws. We'll just put saturated patrols up in areas certain times of the month where they would normally have a roadblock. You know, the federal government gives the money, holds the strings, and says, you're going to do this. So the sheriffs and chiefs of police say, okay, we're going to do that. I disagree with that. Another thing I want to talk to you about, and I know the president of the association here talked to me about it, was helmet laws. I know that the helmet laws here are pretty much, they're set in stone. There's, and I know there's been different groups trying to overturn that. To me, it's a law. It's not a constitutional issue to me. But I disagree. I think that you should have the right to wear a seatbelt if you want or not. You should have the right to wear a helmet if you want or not. It wouldn't be something that I would be out trying to say, let's get these guys without helmets, things like that. But if the issue came across and said, hey, would you support a law that says we want to change it back to not wearing it, I would sign on, because I don't think you should be forced to wear a helmet. If you go out there and, you know, you crack your head, that's on you. You're an adult, you should be able to make that decision. Same thing with a seatbelt. I don't believe that someone should tell you you have to wear a seatbelt. But that's my...
You still have a lot of recourse.
Yeah, but that's my opinion, and so, you know what, if it came across and said, hey, what about the helmet laws, I would definitely sign on to say, I believe that someone should be able to make that choice. So if it came, there was a law trying to be passed, I wouldn't be the one passing the law, but I hopefully would have enough juice with someone to say, hey, let's try to push this through. If you guys came and said, hey, we would like you to come on board with some other politicians, I would definitely come on board with that. Another thing, because I saw it in the questionnaire, there's several things that I agree with that make sense. Just like if they want to change the law about cutting lanes, things like that. I have no problems with the way motorcycle drivers can cut lanes and ride into lanes and go across. There's no, to me, it's the law, and I have no problem with that. Having special parking for motorcycles, I agree with that. I like that. I think that there should be areas, just like our handicap parking, I believe we should have areas set aside for motorcycles. I mean, motorcycles, you can park several motorcycles in a spot where, you know, it might be one or two vehicles. I would actually agree with that, and I would like to see that, you know. So that's kind of where I'm at on motorcycle information. You know, I am a constitutional sheriff.